The CEO of BYD just disclosed to the entire world how you make electric cars, make a lot of them, and sell them at a profit. He's basically given away the secret. Here is what it is, and here is why BYD have been able to become one of only two manufacturers in the world, themselves and Tesla being the other one, who are actually able to make EVs and sell them at a profit. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. Great to see you. My name's Sam Evans, and I'm coming to you from Melbourne, Australia. To all the new subscribers, thanks for tuning in. It's great to have you. And to everyone else, fantastic to have you back. I would love to see it fully charged in Sydney in April of this year. I'll put a link in the description below to the promotion code you can use to get a discount on your tickets. I'll have a few free tickets as well to give away to a few people when I run a competition soon. As well as that, I'll be in San Diego in October next year for fully charged and in London in March. Be awesome to see you there and have a chat. Wang Chuanfu, he was basically an orphan from a young age. Both of his parents died and he was raised by his brother and his sister. He had a pretty tough life. However, in some sense, he's kind of risen like a phoenix from the ashes. So has BYD. He's now worth $18 billion, making him one of the richest men on the planet. Now, Forbes says that BYD has just usurped Tesla as the largest electric car company in the world. And some of you would agree with that, some of you wouldn't. I personally don't agree with that. I don't believe that hybrids or plug-in hybrids count. But if you count plug-in hybrids, then yes, it is true that BYD are now selling, well, quite a lot more than Tesla. Wang gave some advice last week to entrepreneurs, to people like the CEO of NIO, and to people like the CEO of Stellantis, Carlos Tavares. Do more and talk less. Now, believe it or not, both of those CEOs do a lot more talking than Elon Musk does. They're constantly talking about the competition, about the terrible nature of EVs and about the difficulties they're facing and how they're all kinds of things. But his advice, do more, talk less. His Shenzhen-based company outpaced Tesla in the first half of 2022, selling 641,000 electric and hybrid plug-in models. Tesla sold 564 fully electric cars. Now, like I said, I still believe Tesla is in the lead because I believe that fully electric cars are the future. I don't believe plug-in hybrids represent the future at all. And I actually think that plug-in hybrids will be banned from use in most countries around the world in 2035. So for me, Tesla is still ahead. But the thing is here, BYD have increased its vehicle sales by 400% in the last 12 months, with 50% of those being electric cars. They are well ahead of every other automaker in the world not called Tesla. And this was in spite of the fact that pretty much all of its manufacturing happens in China, where the government it's made life very difficult for companies and entrepreneurs with its ridiculous COVID zero strategy, which it still maintains now. Behind its position is a portfolio of innovative tech, says Wang. BYD has mastered the core technologies of the whole industrial supply chain of new energy vehicles, such as batteries, motors, and electronic controls. It even makes its own semiconductor chips. It essentially is the most vertically integrated company in the world. And I mentioned this more than a year ago on the channel on numerous occasions when I told people that I believe BYD and Tesla would be the two biggest car companies in the world by 2030. They're both on track to do that. So what is Wang saying? What is he telling General Motors? What's he telling Ford? What's he telling Volkswagen? What's he telling Mercedes? He's telling them all the only way to do this is to copy what us and Tesla are doing. Vertical integration. Master all of those core technologies. BYD Semiconductor specializes in making the chips that are used in EVs, which has allowed the firm to get around shortages that disrupted sales of other EV makers. In a global EV market projected to reach $824 billion by 2030, according to Portland-based Allied Market Research, vertical integration is giving BYD long-term staying power, which smaller rivals that aren't yet vertically integrated will be driven out as a result. That's tough, right? If you're, well, many companies, if you're Ford, If you're Toyota, in particular, Toyota is probably in one of the worst positions. If you're Honda, Nissan, Mazda, all of the Japanese automakers, they're not vertically integrated at all when it comes to EVs. In fact, I would say bordering on maybe 2% integration. They've got a long way to go to catch up. The thing is, if you look at it in this sense, if you need to be vertically integrated to achieve profit margins, healthy profit margins, what does that mean? All right, that means that Tesla and BYD are miles ahead of the competition. BYD even more so than Tesla, but Tesla does have some core technologies and some core efficiencies that are better than BYD. BYD does manufacture their own batteries at massive scale. That gives them an advantage. So Tesla and BYD have their own advantages in terms of how vertically integrated they are. In the first 9 months of this year, BYD's net profit nearly quadrupled to a record 1.3 billion year on year, fueled by new EV sales that soared 250% to 1.2 million over that period. During that period of time, I was very vocal about the fact that pro-Tesla channels were saying BYD wasn't making a profit on EVs and wouldn't do so. It was purely hyperbole made to appease Tesla fans. If you're a Tesla fan, I'm a Tesla fan. We're both Tesla fans. But there's no point in lying to you. That, my friends, is what will happen if you drink the Kool-Aid of a Tesla-only channel. If a channel is only making videos about one brand, what do you think it's going to do? It's going to tell you everything you want to hear. That's called confirmation bias. That's why most of them, some of them are good, most of them, though, are going to feed you misinformation. Clearly, that information was factually incorrect. And the media have even made a point of that as well. BYD's market cap is now around 100 billion. Though it's short of Tesla, it rivals the combined market value of Ford and General Motors put together, and it's given Wang a net worth of $18 billion in spite of a big collapse in BYD stock price and pretty much every automaker's stock price over the last few months. Wang now ranks number 11 on China's 100 richest men. Besides Wang, BYD has generated two other billionaires. Wang's co-founder and cousin, Lu Yangyang, a non-executive director at BYD who ranks number 18 with a net worth of 13 billion, and director Xia Yunquan, who also has a net worth in the billions of dollars. Already a household name in China, BYD has more than 700,000 pre-orders. And even though there's massive competition in China where many automakers are struggling to sell their EVs, BYD is simply getting more and more people wanting to buy their cars, even though they have to wait. The thing is, now they're doing something else. They're pushing an aggressive global strategy. They're already selling in about 40 different countries around the world, and that's happened over the past 6 months alone. In Asia, Wang, now 56 years old, has launched new EV models in Japan, Thailand, and India, and plans to build factories in both Thailand and India to increase capacity in those markets. India, 1.4 billion people. In October, BYD introduced 3 electric models at the Paris Auto Show, part of their massive plans to essentially take over the European automotive market. The company has over 30 production bases worldwide now, and it expects to sell at least 1.5 million electric cars this year, with a reported goal of 4 million in 2023. That would make it one of the 6 biggest automakers in the world, period. Now, Wang said that the direction of enterprise success comes from having a long-term strategy, something that most legacy automakers really struggle with. Wang said, first, technology serves strategy, and secondly, it serves products. Technology can make enterprise strategy more precise, and it can also make enterprises look higher, further, and deeper. The cost of the wrong strategy is often underestimated. If a vehicle model breaks down, it may only cost several hundred million yen. But if the strategic direction goes wrong, it may take 3 to 5 years to recover, and time cannot be bought with money. That's something Legacy Auto doesn't understand. Time cannot be bought with money. One combination of technology and strategy success at BYD has been the development of what it calls its Blade battery. It's a cobalt-free lithium iron phosphate battery technology, which is more affordable and lasts much longer than the lithium batteries going into most car manufacturers' electric cars, such as Hyundai, General Motors, Ford's vehicles, Volkswagen's EVs, BMWs. Pretty much all those companies are using lithium ternary batteries, which are much more likely and much more prone to actually having a fire, and they're also much more likely to last for a much shorter period of time. BYD not only installs the batteries in its own cars and manufactures them, it sells them to other automakers, including Tesla and Ford. Now, another part of BYD's strategy is to make vehicles that are more affordable than its competitors. The only way it can do that is vertical integration. Chinese EV makers NIO and XPeng target more the luxury to mid-spec market with cars and higher prices. The majority of BYD's lineup sells for between $13,000 and $47,000. Tesla models start in China at around $40,000 before recent price cuts. BYD also has a huge amount of experience operating in the very cutthroat, competitive Chinese market where manufacturers are just constantly trying to undercut each other on price, and they do that at a loss in order to get market share. Many people don't realize that BYD actually started manufacturing electric vehicles in the United States more than a decade ago with electric bus and electric truck manufacture. In fact, it now makes electric buses for schools. They have had some tough customers which helped them build thick skin, and that book of lessons was learned, said Chu Li, founder of Sino Auto Insights, a consultancy that follows the Chinese automotive industry. Wang grew up in one of the country's poorest provinces. He left his village home to get a bachelor's degree and then a master's in battery technology. He worked as a vice supervisor at Beijing Non-Ferrous Research Institute. And when he was in his 20s, Wang moved south to China's entrepreneurial hotbed, Shenzhen. With his cousin Yang in 1995, he started a mobile phone battery manufacturer called BYD, an acronym for Build Your Dreams, or, well, how he likes to put it, Bring Your Dollars. The company began supplying Dell and many other companies. They even manufacture now iPads. He expanded to cars in 2003 with the purchase of a small firm called Tinshan Automobile. And back in those days, there's a famous story about what he did. Even though he was strapped for cash, he went and bought a brand new Mercedes S-Class, top of the range, super expensive. He brought it into the office. He said to his engineering team, strip it apart piece by piece so we can re-engineer it and make it even better. And his team looked at him like he was crazy. They were thinking, it's an S-Class. We can't do that. That's imagine, look how much money that costs. That's sacrilege. He pulled out a key. He ran the key all around the car, scratched all the door panels, and then he said, well, now it's old. Take it apart. And they did. Not long after that, the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett, invested in the company, putting BYD on the global investment map. That was when people began to really start paying attention, but it wasn't when BYD as a company actually started to take off. It took them many years to get the technology right. It took them many years to convince consumers in China that in fact electric cars were far superior to gasoline vehicles. Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway in 2007 bought a 10% stake at about $1 per share. The company has maintained the majority of that stake and still own about 7% of the company. That's now worth more than $5 billion US. Despite BYD's incredible success, Wang has kept a very low profile. He very rarely speaks to the media. He generally shuns the limelight, preferring to work on first principles, to work on the cars, to work on the company, and not to focus on the limelight. Evolving customer demands in the EV market may favor, in fact will favor, Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers who can produce electric vehicles at scale for very low prices. And this especially will help BYD. HSBC said in a recent research note that BYD would see revenue triple to 700 billion yen in 2024 from 216 billion yen in 2021. That would make them the third most valuable car company in the world and one of the most valuable companies in the world, period. Now, besides the growing market for electric vehicles at the end of 2021, there were 16.5 million electric cars on the road. That number will grow to 300 million or more. I would say more like 400 million by 2030, with EVs making up around 70% of new car sales worldwide. But something is happening, something profound, something that most of the Western world has no idea about. Chinese in the past struggled to build quality cars that were desirable in overseas markets, but that's changed. They've now mastered it, and many Chinese electric cars are far superior than those made in the West. Chinese companies who already have jumped on the trend as a way to leapfrog over existing Western firms are now ahead of the pack, says Automobility's Russo. China, the world's largest EV manufacturer, now builds more than 65% of the world's electric cars. And it also has by far the world's largest automotive market, with nearly 33% of all cars sold globally being sold in China. In addition to that, it has 90% of the world's battery manufacturing, which is essentially a monopoly on the batteries that go into an electric car. Wang emphasizes that one must disrupt your own technology before others do it for you. Isn't that an interesting idea? Disrupt your own technology before others do it for you. To have the innovative consciousness of being the first, we need to constantly explore unknown fields and move forward, Wang says. That process isn't easy. BYD devoted itself to studying new energy technologies. It overcame bottlenecks by using lithium iron phosphate batteries, and it encountered many difficulties, he said. Perseverance is an important part of entrepreneurship. Now, the fact that Wang himself actually foresaw the bottlenecks in battery manufacturing and semiconductor chips and was able to build up the manufacturing capacity before those bottlenecks occurred, so that BYD was able to massively expand while all the other automakers in the world, except for Tesla, have shrunk, was truly a remarkable feat. This is something that legacy auto will struggle with. Success in a rapidly changing industry means flexible and efficient decision making. Do you think that's part of big companies like Toyota? I doubt it. Wang says, at present, the speed of market changes and technology iterations is getting faster and faster and faster, and the response speed of enterprises to the market must keep up with changes in the times. If enterprises make slow decisions, it will be very difficult for them to succeed. I'm going to reemphasize that point. If enterprises, meaning the competition, meaning Japanese automakers, European automakers, American automakers, if they make slow decisions, it will be very difficult for them to succeed. Now, I'm sure you've all heard what Sandy Munro says about how quickly legacy auto manufacturers make decisions, and it is glacial. That, my friends, is a problem. The other key issue here for these legacy automotive companies is vertical integration. Do any of them make their own semiconductor chips? No. Do they make their own batteries? Not many. Do they plan on doing so? Most don't. Some do. The future of the automotive industry is up for grabs. And the way I see it right now, there's only really two winners, BYD and Tesla. Will anyone else join the party? Let's wait and see. What are your thoughts? Let me know on who you think will join BYD and Tesla in joining this new grab for the largest, in grabbing market share in the largest industry in the world. Thank you for watching, my friends. Bye-bye.